Yo, welcome back to the beautiful office. Say hi, boys. Gosh, Mario and Luigi, man, what an adventure they just had on the silver screen. You should go check it out. But more importantly, we're here to talk about the controller that changed the game. So this right here is my TomTalk case. I have my Pro controller in here, of which I have used extensively. This thing is gross. It's got a lot of grime on it. And what I like a lot about this is the shoulder buttons. The shoulder buttons are buttons. They're not triggers. They don't have long pulls. And I really do appreciate that. And I really enjoy the way that this controller feels. But as always, I am here to explore, to look into what is the best, what is the most exciting option when it comes to controllers. And I think there is one that does reign supreme. It is ultimate, it is extreme, and well, it's by our good friends over at 8BitDo. This right here is the 8BitDo wireless ultimate controller, and I believe I got that right. And what I like about this is the plethora of features it has, but also the simplicity that it brings to the table. First and foremost, it is no different in button layout than the Pro controller. So if you are an asymmetrical thumbstick fan, of which I am not, but I've gotten used to it, you're good to go. Another thing I do enjoy is that the button size is relatively similar to the Pro controller. And when it comes to using controllers with a system, I like to do as much as I can to emulate or replicate the exact controller that was shipped. And I know that the Nintendo Switch didn't ship with the controller, but they are an exception. So when it comes to Xbox, I want to get a controller that's similar to Xbox. When it comes to PlayStation, I want a controller that is similar to PlayStation, although I think PlayStation has the perfect controller. And when I want Nintendo, I want something that is similar to Nintendo. Now, I have a bunch of controllers. I have the N64 controller, I have a Super Nintendo controller, kind of, and I have a GameCube controller, kind of, as well as the most beautiful arcade stick that's ever been created. Thanks again, 8BitDo. But when it comes to replicating the Pro controller, I need to know that I can do that. And well, this comes pretty darn close. I would say that the D-pad on this is better than the Pro controller's D-pad, and it does add the added functionality of back buttons. Now, back buttons aren't necessarily the big sell here. The big sell is the additional hardware that they ship with it, right? We have ourselves the dock, and this dock is nice because you can leave this controller out to charge, and it actually looks pretty good with a light indicator underneath. That light indicator tells you that this guy is charging, and when there is no light, then it is charged or not plugged in. But really, you know if it's plugged in because the second you plug it on, it'll blink a little bit and then either stay solid white because it's charging or go to dark because it doesn't need any more charge. The other things that I think are just top notch is it ships with a 2.4 gigahertz transmitter. And that transmitter, man, I said that weird. Well, anyway, that connector, that dongle, that whatever you want to call it, is able to be used with the controller, thus allowing you to have the least amount of latency possible. And you can switch between Bluetooth and 2.4 right here on the back. So if you have the 2.4 plugged into your computer or plugged into your Steam Deck even, you can use the Ultimate controller with the Bluetooth connected to your actual Switch, or 2.4 and just toggle the switch rather than having to go through menus and trying to connect and disconnect, and I like that. What I really enjoy and like about the feel of this controller is the thumbsticks. Now, while I really do like the thumbsticks on the Pro controller, there's something just ever more present in these thumbsticks, especially because they are those electromagnetic yum-yums. Yes, those Hall sensing, those crazy, awesome, yeah, they're those. And in this Ultimate controller with that kind of thumbstick, you are, well, granted a sense of security, confidence, and understanding that your thumbsticks aren't going to fail on you as quickly as something like the Pro controller. Now, I haven't had any issues with my Pro controller, and I've had it since launch, but that's my experience and mileage may vary. With these thumbsticks, I do feel like they're just smoother. I like how the size of the thumbstick and the travel feels like it's just a little bit more raised, therefore giving you a little bit more accuracy in some games that you might need that. But alas, the downfalls. A couple things I don't like about this controller is, one, the triggers are full triggers. Now, you can adjust them with the Ultimate software, which is a huge plus, allowing you to essentially make it so the second that trigger feels any sort of pressure, you then get an actuation. Now, it doesn't give you the tactile feedback that you would get from that of the Pro controller, which really, the second the button gets pulled, you feel the click and then you know that it's there. But what it does do is it allows you to further customize the profiles, which is really exciting because you have 3 profiles on this. 3 different profiles to customize, and you can actually program all the different buttons to be different things and have different shortcuts, as well as this turbo button, which allows you to do combinations or whatever you want to do if you're a turbo button kind of person. I know personally the only time I've ever used a turbo button was to get through some of the extremely mundane conversations in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, of which I just couldn't handle because that game is so hard to play. Now, going into the last thing that I don't particularly love about this controller is it doesn't power on your Switch all the time. In some cases, you will be able to get it to do the thing where the second you hit the home button, or in this case, the center 8BitDo button, you will power on your Switch. But in most instances, it doesn't do it. In fact, I would say that 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to manually turn on your Switch and then manually connect, kind of, by turning it on and pressing the L2, R2, or R1, L1, whatever, LB. They have so many different names for it. I don't love that. Now, for me, it's a little bit more convenient. My Switch sits here in the Ivory City. Now, I don't feel like that's gonna be the best experience for people who may not have an Ivory City next to their desk. They have it in an entertainment system where I guess if they put the controller next to it, they could do it all there at once, but there's something very, very convenient about being able to grab the controller, press whatever button is the home button, and it powers on. With Xbox, it does it. With PlayStation, it does it. With the Nintendo Switch Pro controller and PowerA, as well as Hori, it does it. But unfortunately, with 8BitDo, it is hit or miss. I know that this controller does it more than the SN30 Pro or even their arcade stick, but that's because, actually, I don't know why it does it more often. I really wish that 8BitDo did power on the Switch when you had any sort of button press, but alas, it doesn't. Now, this controller is still, out of every single controller that exists for the Nintendo Switch, my 100% absolute favorite, with exception of that arcade stick, but that I can't use with every single game. This I would absolutely recommend over any Nintendo Switch controller out there. Yes, even over the Pro controller, although in doing so, you will omit HD Rumble as well as Amiibo support. And if you're someone who needs either of those things, you shouldn't get that controller. But I still recommend it over the Pro controller because, yeah, it's that good. As always, ladies and gentlemen, stay sexy, stay caffeinated, but most of all, happy gaming.